Here's another gift. It's not from me, it's from a client. When I was talking to him, he said to me, do you know what question you're supposed to ask that supposedly reveals a narcissist? And I said, no. I have my little test for revealing narcissists, but I don't know what question you're supposed to ask. And he said, well, this is Trev. Hello, Trev. He said he'd done some research and he'd found this question. The question is, in what ways do you think you need to grow or change? And the idea behind that question is, if you want to test a narcissist and you say to them, in what ways do you think you need to grow or change? It's a really clever question, because a true narcissist does not believe they need to grow or change at all. The reason why a true narcissist believes they don't need to grow or change at all is because they fundamentally believe that they're perfect. So if they are a true narcissist, this question will get a very bewildered response and possibly rage, possibly real anger, because of the implication that they are anything less than perfect. Some other tests that I formulated, I spoke in another video about doing tapping over a particular girl that I was dating, that I'd managed to find another narcissist, and I started to test her based on certain ideas I'd had through watching Blade Runner and Good Will Hunting. See, that's what kind of psychologist I am. Most people do it off research papers and proper experiments with white lab coats, and here I am doing it off films. So the film Blade Runner, which is like the Philip K. Dick book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? In order to find the androids that live among us, because we created, in this dystopian reality, we created androids, replicants. They're called replicants, to do the jobs that humans don't want to do, but we made them too well. And the slogan of the company that produces the androids is more human than human. So it's really hard to tell if they're human or not, but they are replicants, they're androids, they're not real people. So they do something called a Voight-Kampff test. The Voight-Kampff test is a test for empathy, it's a test for compassion. So I imagine that your man, Philip K. Dick, who was a very smart chap, was probably trying to give us a message at the time. Probably in his time, people weren't talking about narcissists too much, but they would have been talking about psychopaths. And basically, if you watch the film, you'll see what happens if you confront a replicant with this test, where you ask them questions of empathy and compassion for the suffering of others, or if you ask them to talk about their parents, because obviously they don't really have any parents. They only have the artificial memories of who their parents are pretending to be, that have been artificially installed.
Along in the sand when all of a sudden...
Is this the test now?
Yes. You're in a desert walking along in the sand when all of a sudden you look
What one?
What?
What desert?
Doesn't make any difference what desert. Is completely hypothetical.
But how come I'd be there?
Maybe you're fed up. Maybe you want to be by yourself. Who knows? You look down and you see a tortoise, Leon. It's crawling towards you.
Tortoise? What's that?
You know what a turtle is?
Of course.
Same thing.
Never seen a turtle. But I understand what you mean.
You reach down, you flip the tortoise over on its back, Leon.
Do you make up these questions, Mr. Holden? Or do they write them down for you?
The tortoise lays on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it can't. Not without your help. But you're not helping.
What do you mean I'm not helping?
I mean you're not helping. Why is that, Leon? They're just questions, Leon. In answer to your query, they're written down for me. It's a test designed to provoke an emotional response. Shall we continue? Describe in single words only the good things that come into your mind. About your mother?
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
Watched Blade Runner, and after about 15 minutes she switched it off. She said it was boring, and I was like, well, that is remarkable. It's one of the best films. It's like Ridley Scott's greatest work, but she found it boring. So then I said, okay, let's watch another film called Good Will Hunting. And she watched it, she didn't find it as boring, but she didn't, she said afterwards, I don't know what the point of the film is. And I was like, well, that is alongside, I mean, for some people they might just find it boring. There's a lot of talk in that film, I guess. To me, it's one of the best films ever made, but it's the ultimate film of empathy, because the oxygen that the film breathes, the capital that the film moves on, is compassion and empathy. And if you're not interested in compassion, you're not interested in empathy, you're not interested in being human and accepting humanness, the film will be meaningless to you.
I went on a date last week.
How'd it go?
It was good.
You going out again?
I don't know.
Why not?
I haven't called her.
Christ, you're an amateur.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry about me. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, but this girl's like, you know, beautiful. She's smart. She's fun. It's different from most of the girls I've been with.
So call her up, Romeo.
Why? So I can realize she's not that smart, that she's fucking boring? You know, I mean, you don't... This girl's like fucking perfect right now. I don't want to ruin that.
Maybe you're perfect right now. Maybe you don't want to ruin that. But I think that's a super philosophy, Will. That way you can go through your entire life without ever having to really know anybody. My wife used to fart when she was nervous. She had all sorts of wonderful little idiosyncrasies. You know, she used to fart in her sleep. I'm sorry I shared that with you. One night it was so loud it woke the dog up. She woke up and got like, oh, was that you? I said, yeah, I didn't have the heart to tell her. Oh, God.
She woke herself up.
Oh, Christ. But Will, she's been dead 2 years, and that's the shit I remember. It's wonderful stuff, you know? Little things like that. Yeah, but those are the things I miss the most. The little idiosyncrasies that only I knew about. That's what made her my wife. Oh, and she had the goods on me, too. She knew all my little peccadillos. People call these things imperfections, but they're not. Oh, that's the good stuff. And then we get to choose who we let into our weird little worlds. You're not perfect, sport. And let me save you the suspense. This girl you met, she isn't perfect either. But the question is whether or not you're perfect for each other. That's the whole deal. That's what intimacy is all about. Now, you can know everything in the world, sport, but the only way you're finding out that one is by giving it a shot. You certainly won't learn from an old fucker like me. Even if I did know, I wouldn't tell a pissant like you.
Now, why not? You told me every other fucking thing. Jesus Christ. Fucking talk more than any shrink I ever seen in my life.
I teach this shit. I didn't say I know how to do it.
Yeah. You ever think about getting remarried?
My wife's dead.
Hence the word remarried.
She's dead.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a super philosophy, Sean. I mean, that way you could actually go through the rest of your life without ever really knowing anybody.
Time's up.
What the major emotional peak of the film, not that I want to give any spoilers to anybody who hasn't watched it, is the therapist telling the Matt Damon character that it's not your fault. And I find that a really, really moving scene every single time. I find it incredibly moving because of my own experiences and my own work doing therapy with people. And I asked this particular individual about what she thought about that scene, and she said, yeah, I didn't really get it. I didn't know, like, who had fault? Like, what was his fault for? Why would he feel guilty for being abused? And I was like, I can't even, there's so much that you would have to understand about real human emotion behind that question that I'd have to give you a 3-hour lecture that I know you'd fall asleep in after the first 5 minutes. So let's just give up. But yeah, this is a really good, we've been talking on this channel about finding tests for narcs, and this is a really good one. And you could even ask that as just a fun question on a first or second date. You know, have you ever thought about in what ways you'd like to grow or change? If they are bewildered or get angry, or they give you what is a blatantly false artificial answer, you got problems, kids, and you should run for the hills.